Good evening, Bahamas. Coming up tonight, the Prime Minister predicts changes coming to the country's marijuana laws. Elective surgeries at PMH suspended. Find out why. Government disappointed in foreign labor at the point. Plus, who won the 2019 Boxing Day Junkanoo Parade?
Our News is brought to you by Alive.
Welcome to Our News and thanks for joining us. I'm Kyle Joaquin. The Prime Minister today predicted changes to the country's marijuana laws, labeling it the decent and moral thing to do. His comments came after the Marijuana Commission handed over its completed report. Minister also said he will support the release of all criminals convicted of possession of small amounts of marijuana. Jasmine Brown reports.
The Prime Minister was frank in his comments as he gave his detailed views on the controversial issue.
I support this expunging the records of Bahamians convicted of possession of small amounts of marijuana. They deserve to move on with their lives, free and clear of the stigma of a criminal conviction. Once our reformed laws are passed, and through proper legal mechanisms and procedures, I also support the release from prison of all those who are solely in prison for a small amount of marijuana.
The Prime Minister's comments came as members of the Bahamas National Commission on Marijuana handed over the long-delayed marijuana report on Tuesday. Minister, who previously voiced his support for the decriminalization of small amounts of marijuana and legalization of medical marijuana, expanded on his personal views.
Our current marijuana prohibition causes unnecessary confrontations between police and citizens. I grew up and come from over the hill. I have seen firsthand how our laws especially harm young people from modest backgrounds.
Last month, our news team revealed that a preliminary report from the Bahamas National Commission on Marijuana proposes the expungement of all police records reflecting possessions of small amounts of cannabis. The report recommended the legalization of medicinal marijuana and the decriminalization of the possession of up to 1 ounce of the substance.
Reforming our marijuana laws and changing how we treat people with conviction or possession of small amount is a matter of social justice and fairness. It is the decent and moral thing to do. As a country, we should not consider Bahamian marijuana users as criminals.
The PM's comments were welcomed by Commission member and Rastafarian priest Rithman McKinney.
I give thanks on what I hear from the Prime Minister. Well, our community, as you all know, over the years was talking about decriminalization and the sponge on one's records and what Rasta were going through over the years, the atrocities. So the Prime Minister's statement is in the right direction.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Jasmine Brown.
Will the Valley Boys be dethroned as the 2019 Boxing Day Junkanoo champions? That is the question being posed by members of the Junkanoo community after it was revealed that an independent review committee appointed by the JCNP recommended changes to the Boxing Day parade results. Jared Higgs reports.
Questions about the Saxons winning the 2019 Boxing Day Junkanoo Parade began swirling on social media on Monday night. Many Saxons fans began declaring victory. Meanwhile, JCNP officials, difficult to reach. We've not been able to confirm this information with them. A statement released by the Valley Boys, who were announced as the unofficial winners of the Boxing Day Parade back in December, states that the report of the Independent Review Committee was read at the JCNP office on Monday night, and the Valley Boys do not agree with the major findings outlined in the committee's report, particularly pertaining to the Boxing Day Parade. The statement, which was posted to the group's Facebook page, continues, the report recommends that certain penalties issued to certain A groups be reversed or thrown out. The group says the reversal of those penalties, if executed by the returning officer, will change the positioning of the groups in the A Division and therefore the unofficial results of the Boxing Day parade. The group says it has requested an official copy of the report while adding that it is aware of how confusing, frustrating, and angry this information will make its fans, and therefore it wishes to assure its fans that it will take the necessary action to ensure that the unofficial results of both parades are not further compromised and that fairness is maintained.
It's been happening for years and then now, man. Saxon, Walidas, Saxon, that Walida one. Oh, they go, man.
Attempts to reach JCNP officials for clarity on the matter were unsuccessful. Retired school teacher William Stirrup slammed the entity for its handling of the matter.
They need to get their act together. They need to make an official decision and then send that out. Don't make an unofficial decision and then come back later and say we changed it because we went over. Go with the thing, make sure it's right, and present it.
The confusion hasn't stopped Saxon's fans from celebrating. This poster, making the rounds on social media, congratulates the group on 2 straight Junkanoo victories. Meanwhile, other fans took to Facebook to poke fun at the Valley Boys for what they describe as a 3-week stint as Boxing Day champions.
I think the Saxon win.
How come?
I watched them. I watched a part of it, and right. I think they win that.
I'm a Saxon fan, so I ain't think they should, again, I ain't want them to change that, man. They just leave it out there, Saxon 1, Valley 1.
Valley Boys supporters also took to social media to back their group. One supporter wrote, "Win or lose, I'm still a diehard Valley." Another wrote, "No matter how they cheat, hate, and the lies they told on us, we will forever be the Valley. We stand for integrity, they don't." Meanwhile, neutral fan Lisa Knowles says sometimes she just feels like deciding her own winner and going from there.
We know who looked the best and who performed, so we would always know if they cheating, as we call it.
The Saxons were declared the unofficial winners of the 2020 New Year's Day parade. A Boxing Day win would grant the group supporters the right to chant 3 straight as it passes Bay Street at this year's Boxing Day parade. Reporting for Our News, I'm Jared Higgs.
Less than 2 months after Bahamas Power and Light officials boasted that the new Wärtsilä engines at Station A would put an end to power outages in the capital, BPL has issued a request for proposal for additional rental generation for the Blue Hill Power Station. The move is not sitting well with Bahamas Chamber of Commerce Chair for Energy and Environment, Deborah Deal. Berthany McDermott reports.
According to Deal, BPL does not need to enter into another agreement for rental generators.
I'm just hoping that they're not going into another contract of rental generation where we have to keep paying monthly. I'm hoping that they take it a little bit further and turn that into actual generation, but I don't know what the purpose of it would be.
In a recent issued request for proposal, prospective bidders are asked to submit full tenders for additional rental generation for the Blue Hill Power Station by 4 p.m. on January 31st. Deal says BPL needs to get rid of the rental generators that the company already has.
Somehow we need to get rid of the backup generation because the backup generation was only brought in because we didn't have enough generation that was working, and we had to actually create what we needed to keep the country, or I should say the island, going.
Last year, BPL received 25 megawatts of rental power from Aggreko to supplement its generation supply to assist with the anticipated increased load heading into the summer months. However, in May 2019, a fire on Bimini caused significant damage to the island's power plant, which prompted the power company to send 5 megawatts of rental generation to that island. As a result, in July, BPL Director of Public Relations Quincy Parker said an additional 5 megawatts of Aggreko generation would be in the capital to replace the 5 megawatts relocated to Bimini. Deal added that BPL should just acquire more permanent generators.
Me, I don't understand. If we have backup generation, it's a monthly fee, and we're going to do backup generation again, why wouldn't we just do 115 megawatts or 80 megawatts, let's go with the last one, 80 megawatts of permanent generation instead of backup generation that costs us on a monthly basis.
This comes as BPL plans to sell stations A and D to Shell North America, which Deal insisted makes no sense. Now Deal is calling on the BPL board to be open and transparent and explain their plans for the power company to the Bahamian people. Reporting for Our News, I'm Berthany McDermott.
Insufficient beds, a nurse shortage, and the growing number of boarders at Princess Margaret Hospital have forced health officials to suspend elective surgeries. Georgia Bain reports.
Elective surgeries at Princess Margaret Hospital have been brought to a screeching halt, according to Minister of Health Dr. Dwayne Sands, who said that the growing number of boarders have drove finances through the roof, and his ministry is working on getting that number down. A lack of nurses and 39 boarders in Princess Margaret Hospital have forced the Public Hospitals Authority to suspend elective surgeries, according to Minister of Health Dr. Dwayne Sands. Though he could not say how long the suspension would last, Sands asserted the growing number of boarders is creating a serious issue.
As a result of overcrowding, this was a decision made just yesterday. We had 106 people in the emergency room yesterday. Right now we're so stretched in the emergency room that there are ambulance trolleys being used for beds. It's a very serious issue.
The health minister reveals PMH is dealing with 39 boarders at a rate of $2,000 a month per person. That's $78,000 a month, or $936,000 a year.
Dealing with the boarders now, we're forced to deal with it in a way that some may find unpalatable. When you look at the cost of a nursing home in the Bahamas, it could be as much as $1,800 a month. So if you have 39 boarders, you multiply that by, say, $2,000, that's an expense that may end up having to be borne by the public purse if the families are either unable or unwilling to take that on.
The PHA is hoping that family members will collect these patients who have been discharged but remain at the hospital because they have nowhere else to go. Until then, Sands says they are forced to bear the financial burden.
If now the government finds itself in a position, or the PHA finds itself in a position where it now has to fund housing for people who have been discharged from hospital but have not been collected by their family members, then that's a significant unexpected expense. Now that said, 39 patients that are boarders, the knockoff effect of that is there are 39 people in the emergency room who have been admitted, need a bed, and cannot get a bed because those beds are full.
For our news, I'm Georgie O'Bain.
The government is seeking a full explanation from the Point Development as to why foreign labor far exceeds Bahamian labor despite their agreement. Labor Minister Dion Folk said after an analysis of the workforce at the Point, the Minister's administration was left disappointed.
We are very disappointed of the amount of non-Bahamian workers at the Point. I think the percentages are around 30 to 70 in favor of non-Bahamians. It is supposed to be the exact opposite.
When the heads of agreement for the Point Development was tabled in Parliament in February 2017, the issuance of work permits and the number of foreign workers who had already been working on the project was an area of contention. 3 years later, construction on the project is moving at a rapid pace, but foreign labor remains an issue, with the development failing to live up to its end of the deal, putting more foreigners to work on the project.
We have been in talks with the management at the Point. Their explanation is that they have some 22 Bahamian subcontractors working at the Point. And they are including those numbers, the employees that work for those 22 subcontractors, as part of the Bahamian component.
With the Point now doing the exact opposite of a 70% Bahamian, 30% foreign worker agreement, both sides are in disagreement, and the time of day seems to be the meat of the Point's argument, according to folks.
Their argument is depending on when you come, and depending on what the project is, the Bahamian component is much higher. Whether you come in the morning or the evening. Like, for example, they're doing their swimming pools now. So they have a major Bahamian subcontractor there working on the pools. And so they are counting all of the Bahamians that are working on the water system and the pool system as part of the Bahamian component.
200 Bahamians were expected to be hired during the construction phase of the $200 million development. According to the Department of Labor's last inspection, there were 97 Bahamians, 229 Chinese, and 38 other nationalities. While he wouldn't say what this means for the future of the development or whether government would take any action, folks said his ministry is working on it. Still to come, the abortion bill claims to be investigated. Plus, Dr. Minnis slams the PLP's leader's marijuana comments. Stay tuned.
Phone is good. Internet is good. TV is good. But why just pick one thing when you can have everything with Tria? Only $99 a month gets you phone, internet, and cable. That's everything you need for $99 a month. Ask for Tria. Call 601-2200 or email residentialsales@cablebahamas.com. Rev, you and us together.
An investigation is expected to be launched into allegations that pills used to induce abortions are being sold over the counter without a prescription. Minister of Health Dr. Dwayne Sands told reporters today that the Pharmaceutical Board will be investigating the matter.
Yes, I mean, obviously, whenever complaints are made, we have to take them very seriously. Now, the issue at hand is whether somebody is practicing outside of the law, whether that's a doctor, a pharmacist, or any health professional under the auspices of the Ministry of Health. And so we have asked the Tribune to give us a formal complaint, and it will be investigated by the Pharmacy Council. And depending on what they find, we let the chips fall as they may.
Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis slamming opposition leader Philip Davis over his comments on the leaked preliminary marijuana report. Minnis said Davis should have known better than to comment on an incomplete report.
The leader of the opposition knows full well, and ought to know, that protecting the integrity of an ongoing and incomplete inquiry is the proper way a government should function, and is in no way an attempt to avoid transparency.
Minnis also questioned why PLP leaders are speaking out on a matter the party did nothing about when it was in power.
When they were in office, they did nothing. Yet, they have all manner of big talk, despite their glaring failures to act when they had the opportunity to help those burdened by criminal convictions for small amounts of marijuana possessions. The work of social justice is about action, not about endless and empty talk from those who failed to act decisively when last in office.
Still to come, the NIB minister addresses rumors of a contribution increase. Stay tuned.
Phone is good. Internet is good. TV is good. But why just pick one thing when you can have everything with Tria? Only $99 a month gets you phone, internet, and cable. That's everything you need for $99 a month. Ask for Tria. Call 601-2200 or email residentialsales@cablebahamas.com. Rev, you and us together.
National Insurance Minister Brendan Roll shutting down speculation that NIB contributions are set to increase. According to Roll, an audit is currently underway, and he would not be surprised if it is recommended that contributions be increased. However, he added that will be a decision made by the government.
I can't say that directly because what has happened now, an audit is being done. It has not yet been released. I've not had an opportunity to speak to my colleagues about it, so I cannot tell you that is going to increase. There was a preliminary report which has suggested that there needs to be an increase, but that has happened every year since probably 5 years ago. But that's a decision that will be made by the government.
Roll said NIB's fund has taken a drastic hit due to Hurricane Dorian's impact on unemployment.
Take into context that two of our major pillars are now down, Abaco and Grand Bahama, and therefore contribution will decrease significantly because of the impact of the hurricane on the fund and the fact that scores of individuals will not be contributing to the fund, and we had to pay out these benefits, unemployment assistance, etc., to individuals impacted by the storm.